Good morning and welcome to The Edge for today, Monday, 21st October 2024. I'm Devonne Cornelius and thank you for joining me in the program for today. This program is also being carried live via our social media platforms, and so you may follow the conversation via our YouTube channel, that says ZIZ Online, and via Facebook at ZIZ Broadcasting Corporation, and of course www.zizonline.com. When we open the phone lines later, you may call us at 465-2555 or 718-577-2916 or 662-8674. Those are the numbers you call to lend your voice to the conversation at hand. Let me greet those of you who are listening from other parts of the world. So good afternoon, good night, good evening, wherever you are. And thank you for joining me here on the program for today. But of course, good morning to those of you who are in our current time zone here in St. Kitts and Nevis and across the region and parts of the USA. You are listening to The Edge. And it's a pleasure to be back here this beautiful, bright Monday morning to have a conversation with you, the listeners of this program. And I look forward to engaging with you and you engaging with me as you share your views and opinions and suggestions on things happening in and around St. Kitts and Nevis, and even things on the regional stage that relate to us here in St. Kitts and Nevis. Last week we were able to touch on a number of topics. One which was most important to me is the message by Mr. Bergen in speaking to the young people of St. Kitts and Nevis about staying away from the life of crime. We also looked at the area of agriculture, as we invited representatives from the Ministry of Health and the Department of Agriculture to speak on World Food Day and the importance of consuming fresh, locally produced foods. And that is something that we must not take for granted. Apart from the side of, reducing the food import bill, it is still important for us to try to consume more local food, locally produced food, as much as possible, because it affects our well-being, it affects our health, and generally, overall, it affects community and public health. And so that is why there continues to be a focus on producing food locally. Of course, there are a number of challenges in producing local food, in growing our own food. And I believe in some cases it is easier said than done. People would always say, you should start a backyard garden and you should start to grow your own food. Now, don't get me wrong, it is not a bad idea. And it is something that should be welcomed by all of us. But in everything that you do, and in this case especially, there are going to be challenges. But it is how you manage those challenges. And so with growing local food, of course, you have the issue of climate change, in terms of the storms that continue to get stronger and stronger. And so imagine having a farm where that is your only source of income, and a hurricane comes and it takes all of that. And so in some cases people are forced to start from scratch. People are forced to start from the very beginning, and it is not as easy for some as it is for others. And so those two conversations were really good. Last week and this week, I was able to speak on the topic of digital responsibility on social media. And when you talk about digital responsibility, it simply means how you use social media and how you engage with other people. And I had the opportunity to speak with students from grades 3 to 6 in terms of how they should use social media. Now, we can always say that children from grades 3 to 6 should not use social media. But the reality is they're going to use it anyway. And so I feel that the best approach with dealing with that is to show them how to use it responsibly. It's just like people would say, in order to, you should abstain from sex. People who are under the age of 16. The reality is that is highly unlikely for some. And so instead of preaching abstinence, you tell them about the different things that they should do to protect themselves, such as the usage of condom and all of that. And so in this case, speaking to children from grades 3 to 6, we know that they're going to be using TikTok. We know that they're going to be using Facebook and WhatsApp, even without their parents' knowledge. And so instead of trying to preach to them not to use these platforms or not to use these devices, let us be realistic. They are going to use them. And so let us teach them how to use them. Let us teach them how to be responsible when using these platforms. Because the reality is there are people out there who are seeking to get personal information. They're seeking to get money. They're seeking just to do things that they ought not to be doing. And so with speaking with these children, I realized that ages are great. Those in grades 3 to 6, they know a lot about what is happening on social media. And one thing we must take into consideration is that when they're on social media, they're not just seeing me and GQ, but they're seeing things that are happening in other parts of the world. And they're seeing things that they're not supposed to be seeing. Now, all the parents are not going to be as responsible as they should be in terms of having the necessary parental controls on the different devices and all of that. So, somebody has to take responsibility and say, hey, this is how you do it. Now, we also focused on or looked at cyberbullying. And this is an ongoing, what I will call an epidemic, where in schools across St. Kitts and Nevis, there are children who are suffering from being bullied, whether face-to-face bullying or cyberbullying. And so every day they go to school, or every day when they're home in their own space, they're being tormented by whether it be their classmates, people who are older, or people who are even younger than them. They're also being tormented by adults. And sometimes we only look at these things at the surface and we don't do a deep dive to understand the effects of bullying and the effects of cyberbullying. And so we were able to have a conversation on the effects of bullying and cyberbullying. And three of those effects, the broad topics were the mental and emotional, mental/emotional, and the physical effect. And so imagine being bullied every day, 5 days a week, 8 hours a day. You feel that you're not loved. You feel that you're not wanted in society. You begin to lose interest in the things that you enjoy doing. And there are older people who are bullied. So bullying does not discriminate. Bullying is not just for people who are in primary school or high school, but there may be bullying in everyday life, in adults. And so sometimes you lose interest in things that you love. You feel that you're not wanted, supported, and all of these different things. I know this is not a conversation that is frequent, but I thought it best to bring it to your attention, or bring it to the fore to have a conversation with you, the listeners, on it. Because I learned a lot from those children at the primary level last week and this week, about what they know about social media and the internet. And I know we're going to say, well, back in our time, we never had access to social media. And that is true. But we have to accept the fact that the world is changing, and we're going to have to change responsibly, and we're going to have to adapt. We're going to have to, adapt to the changes that are happening really fast. And so you, as a parent, may want to shield your child from the things that come via social media. You're going to want to shield your child from the outer world. And in some cases, you may be doing more harm than good. You let them experience the different things, but you show them how to do it the right way. And you guide them every step of the way. Now in St. Kitts and Nevis, one of the biggest issues that we don't tend to discuss enough is mental health. And I know we recently celebrated Mental Health Day, a World Mental Health Day, which was on October 10th. Now, I'm not going to attempt to do a deep dive into mental health and its challenges, because I am not a psychologist or a psychiatrist or anything of that sort, a mental health expert. But the little that I know is very simple. This is something that we must not take for granted. Unfortunately, in our culture in the Caribbean, whenever people say that they're going to seek help, they are instantly categorized as crazy. They're instantly looked at as being weak, especially if that person is a male. In our culture here in the Caribbean, we don't think that people should get emotional support. We don't think that people should get that mental support, whether it be professionally or just speaking with a friend or a family or somebody who you could trust. We don't see those things as being important. And sometimes we like to say, well, that's not something we should focus on. We should just focus on the physical aspect of it. What I have realized as well is that there is a lot of trauma in our Caribbean culture. There's a lot of generational trauma and generational hurt and generational damage that in some cases are irreversible. And it goes from generation to generation to generation. And because it has been happening for quite some time, we see this thing as being normal. It has been happening in our household, and so we see it as normal. And whenever somebody tries to speak on it, we say, why don't you hush? What are you talking about? This has been happening for quite some time. Because we have been conditioned to think that these things are normal. They're not. And these are the conversations that we must begin to have. Whether we have these conversations with ourselves, or we have them with professionals, or we have them with a close family or friend, we must begin to have these conversations. There is a lot of generational trauma, a lot of things that we are afraid to touch and speak about in our culture and in our society that we think is taboo, or we shouldn't really talk about that. And mental health is one of them. Mental health is definitely one of them. And so my only wish, or one of my wishes rather, is for our people to take their mental health very important. Very, very important. Having time for yourself is very important, and it's something that you should not take for granted. Having time to relax, having time to reflect on life and just pause for a moment. And you pause from work, you pause from school, you pause from play. You pause from all the things that are happening around you. That should not be taken for granted. It's very important. And I just thought it best to bring that and share that with you today. It's 18 minutes past the 11 o'clock hour, and you're listening to The Edge here on ZIZ Radio 96.1 FM. I wanted to begin this conversation with you. So we'll take a break, and when we come back, we'll continue our conversation.
Guess what? What? September 2024 marks the official start of Aspire.
And our government has a super cool gift just for us.
$1,000 in saving and investments.
$500 will be held in a savings account.
That we go.
And $500 in shares kept safely until you are qualified to access it.
And it belongs to us. Not mommy, no daddy.
And not only that, you'll be learning all about how to manage your money wisely at school too.
Yes, all children ages 5 to 18 who are citizens of St. Kitts and Nevis
And registered at a school, including homeschool, will qualify.
I can't wait for September 2024.
But I am the first group ever to benefit from this program.
Yay! To saving, investing, and
Watching our money grow.
Hey, guess what? It's Radio Market.
Call in and sell your merchandise. You can negotiate, give away and trade.
We on radio, internet, and TV.
Like us, share us, and subscribe to
ZIZonline.com.
And remember, we don't sell nothing over $5,000. Radio Market, every Saturday morning at 10 o'clock. Call 465-2555, 662-8674, or 718-577-2916. ZIZ Radio, giving back to the people.
From the heart of ZIZ Radio comes a political talk show like no other. The Edge, with host Devonne Cornelius giving you his take on the biggest stories happening in governance today. Got something to say? Let's hear it. Give us a call at 869-465-2555, Monday to Friday from 11 a.m. to 12 noon. One solid hour of in-depth analysis of the machinery that makes our country tick. The Edge, cutting into the matters at hand.
Welcome back to The Edge on ZIZ Radio 96.1 FM. I'm Devonne Cornelius, and thank you so much for joining me in the conversation for today. We're talking about something that we don't usually talk about, so we're running away from the politics, and not running away from, let me not say that, but we're not talking about the politics today, and we're not talking about the crime and these different heavy topics. We want to go light, but this one is heavy, but we want to go lighter, let me say that, and talk about something that really affects us as a people, and something that we don't talk about much. Now, as I was talking about the mental health, we know that there is a stigma. Some people believe that you shouldn't even be talking about mental health. You shouldn't even be talking about anybody needing emotional or mental support. Some people see support as, or some people see your life as normal if you have a job on Monday to Friday, if you have a marriage that appears to be working, if you have a nuclear family, let me say that. Some people see your life as normal if you dress well, you always have on a tie, you're always well dressed, your hair is well groomed. But it may not necessarily be normal if you are burning up and suffering from the inside. You know, it may not be normal if there are a number of darts coming at you at the same time, and you're trying to duck and you're trying to get away from all the challenges of life. But they're coming at you fast and furious. And so you try to duck from the one that's coming from the left. And you ease to the right, and by the time you look across, that one hits you right there. So nobody talks about providing support to those people who feel as though they have the weight of the world on their shoulders. Nobody talks about help for those people. Nobody thinks about how they are managing and how they are getting through. How are they staying above the water? How are they still breathing? How are they still functioning? These are conversations that we need to make a normal thing. We need to have these conversations in the workplace. We need to have these conversations in school. We need to have these conversations in church. We need to have these conversations in everything that we do. And yes, physical health is important, but mental health ties directly into that. And it is not something that we ought to take for granted at all. Seeking help, there should not be a stigma on that. If you feel as though you are overwhelmed and there is a lot going on, there is too much happening, seeking help, there should be no stigma on that. Unfortunately, there is a stigma associated with trying to seek help. And of course, because of our small size, our small community, people do have trust issues. In the sense that you feel that you're going to a close friend to try to seek help when really and truly they just want to hear all of your news, and they want to go back and say, well, this person has been going through this and this person has been going through that. And instead of that person who you may have shared with being a pillar of strength or somebody who you could lean on, they've betrayed you. No, we know that mental health conditions often go untreated. And this can lead to long-term poor emotional and social physical health and behavioral outcomes. And sometimes you see a lot of these things, not just in the school, but in the workplace, where people act a certain way, or they respond a certain way, or they behave a certain way because of years and years and years of challenges mentally and emotionally. And they weren't able to seek help, or they were not supported when they tried to seek help. And so because of that, they are now, what I would say, sometimes a menace to society because of years and years and years of trauma that we are afraid to talk about. I had no intention of really going on the topic of crime and violence, but it ties into it because sometimes we ask ourselves, why are our young people and people in general acting the way they are acting and responding the way they are responding? Why are our people, wanting to participate in the life of crime and violence? And it could very well be, I'm not trying to justify it, but I'm just looking at what could be the reality. It could be a case where they've told themselves, well, this is what I am going to do to shift the focus from all of the mental and emotional challenges that I have. But these are things that we must look at, and we must look at them very seriously. We cannot continue to sweep things under the rug. We cannot continue to turn a blind eye to these things and think that when we sweep them under the rug or when we ignore them, they're going to automatically fix on their own, and we're no longer going to have these issues to deal with. But we are setting up our people for failure, for the whole disaster. And so instead of sweeping these things under the rug and not grabbing the bull by the horn and tackling this issue, let us begin to support people who want to seek help. And let us begin to seriously look at the factors that contribute to mental health challenges in everyday life. Now, supporting this is not you coming on the edge or going on any other program to say, well, we support mental health awareness and this and that and blah, 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 blah. But just as though we are approaching crime from a whole of society approach, it must be the same with mental health. And so it must be displayed in the workplace, it must be displayed in school, it must be displayed in church, it must be displayed in everyday society, in everything that we do. In our way of life, in our mindset, in our thinking. How can we better support people emotionally and mentally? How can we do that? Is one of the questions that we should ask ourselves. It's 11:31 and you're listening to The Edge here in ZIZ Radio 96.1 FM. We'll take a break, and when we come back, we'll open the phone lines and begin taking your calls at 465-2555 or 718-577-2916. Let's take a break and I'll be right back.
Hey, guess what? It's Radio Market.
Call in and sell your merchandise. You can negotiate and negotiate, give away and trade.
We on radio, internet, and TV.
Like us, share us, and subscribe to
ZIZonline.com.
And remember, we don't sell nothing over $5,000.
Call we.
Radio Market, every Saturday morning at 10 o'clock. Call 465-2555. 662-8674 or 718-577-2916. ZIZ Radio, giving back to the people.
Welcome back to The Edge. Let's head to the phone lines and we'll take our first call for today. Hello, caller, you're on the air. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning, Devon.
Yes, how are you doing today?
I'm good, man. How are you?
Not bad, not bad. Giving thanks for life.
Right, you must copy off of me slate.
Yeah?
With the topics, them what you got. Well, I'm going to tell you what first thing we're going to do, right? We're going to take up the rug off the floor and throw it out.
Mm-hmm.
Because too many things under the rug that not supposed to be under there. And we're going to just walk on the bare toils in the house.
Okay, let's go.
Yo, Devon, I always hear them say that St. Kitts and Nevis got 98% literacy people, but a lot of them don't operate that way. Now, my experience this morning self, I have been calling to a medical doctor's office, and the receptionist, or whosoever, what position that person has, they answer the phone. Hello? Say, good morning. Could I speak to Dr. John Doe? Then they say, okay, hold on. I'll get him. I'll get her or whatever. They just leave me there hanging out sloopy. And then have the manners to come back and take up the phone and say, well, okay, Dr. John Doe going to come to you or whatsoever it is. That is not professional customer service. A lot of them need training in this country here. And again, when it comes to a medical doctor for human being, I don't think they should have no telephone telling you if you know the extension number, go to this and dial this and dial that. Not for emergency and human being. We are all sitting, we are not vehicle. So that you could wait for all 8 hours a day. From the moment you're in a medical office, whosoever pick up the phone, they should say, okay, hello, can I help you? And you tell them what you need. And they will say, okay, hold on. And whatsoever, and then they get the person to you. A lot of that is lacking in this country. And a lot of people in this country here who are in those professional
Okay, we lost that caller. Let's take this other one. Hello, caller, you're on the air.
Good morning, sir.
Yes, good morning.
And how was your weekend, sir?
It was good. It was well spent.
Oh, nice.
What about you?
Oh, my weekend was good. I went to Monkey Hill and take a peep on the Jube.
Okay.
And good morning to the listeners from on about Targonia. Let me go to some major topics. Remember some weeks ago, there was an announcement by the Agricultural Department that they're bringing thousands of plants to plant for the 25 by 25?
Yeah, I remember that.
Okay. So we are asking the Agricultural Department and the failing Agricultural Minister when they're going to have the open day so the public could come and see these plants. You know why you're asking that? Because every time Labour in, they say they bring in thousands of plants and we never see them. In Dr. Douglas' Labour government, Nigel Carty said that we bring in over 5,000 after me consistently asked to bring in coconut plants so we could plant at the coconut trees them because, you know, it's a very good thing for our body and it's a living for many families. He said he brought in 5,000 coconut plants and they're on an estate and they will be open there when the public could come and see them. Well, we are still waiting. So we are asking this agricultural minister, when are we going to have an open day when we could see all these plants that he say he bring in? And they are not going to ready for 25 by 25 because breadfruit and coconut trees take about 3 to 5 years before they bear. So he don't fail this or so. Right? The other thing is, I pass by Carnival Village and I see they are doing some work in there. I see they move out the container bags them and put them up in the old Bastia High School, rest them down, and they're in Carnival Village with a number of companies. Well, you know, they're getting ready for the carnival. I hope they are going to repaint Carnival Village because the painting there is very poor now. The painting needs touching up. I see they have the grass well cut and they are working still on the ground and they are working on the stage. We are continually to ask, when are we going to get a roof or when we are going to get an indoor? That's what we are asking. And you remember many years ago, I don't know if you had heard it, that they had planned to put a roof or get an indoor basketball stadium for us. We are still awaiting that. Because, I mean, basketball city up there, that there look like a little ghetto thing. We need a professional stadium, indoor stadium. We have enough lands around, and we have the means and the way to do it. So we are asking the sports department, when are we going to get an indoor basketball stadium, and when they are going to put a roof either over Carnival Village, or we are going to get a new home for the Carnival Village. Because obviously everybody know India is too small.
All right, caller, thank you so much for your contribution to the program. The phone lines remain open, and we're taking your calls at 465-2555 or 718-577-2916. So we have a call on the line. All right, let's take a break. When we come back, we'll continue our conversation here on The Edge. Stay tuned, and we'll be right back.
Already, boss? You sure you could drive after them drinks?
Yeah, I'll go handle it, You're not too far from here. I'm gonna take my time.
Oh my God! Jeff, you're gone! I told you not to drink and drive!
The problem with drinking and driving is the morning after. Drink responsibly.
This message was brought to you by the St. Kitts Nevis National Council on Drug Abuse Prevention in collaboration with SKNIS.
Join us in St. Kitts and Nevis. Over 5 decades of uniting culture, music, and spirit in one unforgettable celebration. Here, the energy is infectious, the vibes electric, where every corner of the island pulses with life. Sugar Mass 53, St. Kitts and Nevis National Carnival. December 13th, 2024, January 2nd, 2025. 20 days of non-stop carnival revelry. It's the only place to be. Sugar Mass 53.
Welcome back to The Edge here in ZIZ Radio, 96.1 FM. I'm your host, Devonne Cornelius, and thank you for joining me in the program for today, Monday, October 21st, 2024. It's 11:41, and you are listening to The Edge. We take this program up until noon for our midday newscast, but in the meantime, you can call us and lend your voice to the conversation at hand. And so this morning I led with a very unusual, and it's unusual because we don't talk about it a lot, mental health and cyberbullying and bullying, and those topics that you don't hear a lot about every day, and most people don't really comment on every day. But I thought it necessary to bring it to the attention of the general public, and not necessarily the attention, but to share it with the general public, so that you could hear about what our children know. And I was able to share that our children, especially in the primary school level, they are aware of a lot of things, and they know a lot for their age. They, as I mentioned, they know the good, and they definitely know the bad. And so we have a responsibility to teach them how to be responsible on social media. But I thought it necessary to bring this topic to you, which is something that don't usually happens. It only happens every now and then. We recently celebrated World Mental Health Day, and I find we normally wait until we're celebrating a day, whether it be local or international, for us to begin to talk about what's happening surrounding that day. And so recently, we celebrated World Food Day, and we were talking about the importance of producing more local food and all of that. World Mental Health Day, we have Breast Cancer, I believe, Awareness Month this month. To me, these are some of the things that we should be talking about all year round, because there are significant challenges that pose, or there are things that pose a risk to the sustainable development of these areas, these different sectors. But because we don't do much awareness, and we don't promote enough accurate information on these areas, I feel that we are oftentimes left behind. We are oftentimes left behind and we don't know what's happening, right? It's 11:43. Let's head back to the phone lines and we'll take some more calls here from our listeners. Hello, caller, you're on the air. Good morning.
Yeah, Devon, I'm back.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Devon, as the years of the world advances, technology follows. And as long as technology is there, the children them can learn from the technology. Now, as we say, the world changes every day. In my little boyhood days going to school, we never had no bullying like what's going on in school and all over the place now, you know. Our style of bullying, we used to shove off, first lock, put piece of stick on your shoulder mine and knock off just for a little fight. And when we done, we bang off. And we say, okay, you bang me today, I'm going to bang you back tomorrow. But technology is teaching these younger children how they should behave when it is, even though it is negative, children will learn what they see. Thank you, Devon.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much, Carter, for that. I was hoping to engage you there. You mentioned that back in your time there wasn't much bullying. No, I wasn't there, obviously, but one thing I learned is we have cases of things not being reported. The reason why we know about bullying and cyberbullying today is because it is being reported. More and more children are coming forward and saying that their classmate or classmates have been bullying them and they've been a victim of cyberbullying. That was not, and I don't believe that may have been the case, let's say 10, 15, 20 years ago. It's just like when you talk about domestic violence, mostly you hear it from women, where it is reported that men abuse women. It doesn't mean that women do not abuse men. But this, when you look at the statistics, you're not going to find the numbers to be high because it is underreported. There are a lot of men who are abused by their wives and girlfriends, but we don't know because it is not reported. And when we look at the numbers, we say, well, this is good because it is at an all-time low. And so we automatically think that it is not happening at all. And I'm not saying that was the case, but it could be that many moons ago when you were going to school, you were not able to traverse the entire school to see. But it could be a case where there was bullying, but it was not being reported, so you don't know. It's 11:46. The phone lines remain open and we take your calls at 465-2555 or 718-577-2916. You're listening to The Edge for Monday, 21st October 2024. I'm Devonne Cornelius and thank you for joining me on the program for today. If you're just tuning in, we're talking about mental health, that being a serious challenge here in the region, and it is something that we don't take serious. We put a lot of focus into other areas. I'm not saying that we should not focus on those areas, but we don't pay much attention to the mental well-being and the well-being of our people. We don't look at the fact that there are a number of people who have psychotic disorders, mood disorders. We don't look at the fact that in the region there are a number of people who are unaliving themselves, and all of these different things. And we don't look at the cause. Why are people doing these things? Why are people not mentally well? And we don't look at providing the necessary support. Let's head back to the phone lines and we'll take some more calls. Hello, caller, you're on the air. Good morning.
Devonne.
Yes.
Carl here again. Devonne, bullying, not only in school, bullying are in a lot of people's homes too,
Yes.
And they have physical bullying. That's what we mainly concentrate on in school. But we don't concentrate on the mental bullying, the emotional bullying, right? And also stealing in the form of bullying from the children. We look at they're always getting pushed around, they're always getting beat up, but the things just be taken away from them, the books, the pen, the money, the lunch, and all those things, and we don't check in. And one of the things is that even when they complain, the law here can't do nothing much, because as you complain it, they have a little meeting with the parents, the educational fraternity, maybe child agency, maybe a police may come in, but there's nothing else after that. When you look, the same children are back in the same school. They don't transfer the children them to other schools, so the bullying may stop here. So you don't have that happening. The ones are the one we're doing the little bullying may get a little suspension for a week or two, and they're back in school. And when you look, the bullying continue again, continuous complaint. What about transferring some of these children to other schools? You see, that don't happen, Devon, and the police cannot do much because you cannot lock up the children, right? So
well, I feel like in that case,
we are thinking if nothing harsh can happen to these children who are bullying the other children, you just talk to them, you just give them a little suspension, and they're back.
Well, I don't think the case should always be physical punishment or getting harsh. It's as simple as, for example, the session that I had, talking to them about the effects of cyberbullying and looking at the different consequences, right? It may not work for all the children, but at least you do it a step-by-step process. So this is the role of the guidance counselors. There are people who are specifically trained for dealing with issues like these. So we should first, my suggestion is to first look at dealing with it from that angle, and then if it doesn't work, we take it up a notch.
Well, that is what's supposed to happen, but that ain't what happening. What about taking away some marks from tests and exams?
Taking away what?
That's another form of heavy punishment, especially if the one who doing the bullying going to graduate April.
Yeah, but you see, I don't know how much is going to help the situation. I'm not trying to say that the child should not be punished, right? But let's say you have a child that is always bullying the classmates and whatnot, but the child is doing well in school in terms of they have all A's and all of that. I'm not sure you're going to do much help to that child if you take away their marks without, when I said justifying it. If you understand where I'm coming from, you're not gonna do much help to the child. To me, you're gonna break the child even more, because first thing, they're a bully, and being a bully, there are a number of reasons why they perhaps don't have the love and support at home, and so you take away their marks, looking at it as trying to punish the child in the moment, but you 10 years from now, you'd actually disqualify them for a fully funded scholarship to a university. Instead, they're now gone down the life of crime, and that child turns into a murderer or a rapist. So we got to look at things from a practical standpoint, and we got to be mindful of the different approaches that we take when we're dealing with children.
Again, Devon, what about transferring both children to different schools?
Yeah, I mean, that too is something that we could look at, but are we going to be in the business of keep transferring? Soon then, you're going to have a school with no children.
Well, Devon, the rules are just like how it is said you're not supposed to do crime or you will be punished. Just like in school, you should be punished if you don't want the minor and then move on to the harsh punishment. Obey the rules and keep yourself in order if you know you want to obtain other bigger things in life going forward.
And you are right.
You are also punishing yourself in the future.
You are right, but look at this too. With crime, there's also the rehabilitation aspect of it, where you try to give people a second chance at life. For me,
this is where you stop these little crimes down here. You have to put minor and harsh punishment as it go along. Because what you're doing, you're preventing a bigger crime in the future. So saying making them lose this and lose that, sacrifices have to be made if you are going to put yourself in the way of being sacrificed. Sacrifice have to be made, Devon. If we don't make sacrifices, we're not going to achieve anything. We're going to always be saying, Lord, she gone this and he gone that. He gonna lose this, he gonna lose that. Where are we going to get? We're not going to go anywhere. And then we want the crime to stop. We have to prevent with these small minor crimes. Because they are crimes, bullying is a crime. So we have to stop these here in the bud, as we just say, in the small way. So when we let it advance to a big way because we're sorrying for them, we are protecting the person who's doing the crime more than the person who the crime is admitted to.
But Carla, I don't think it's a case where anybody is trying to be sorry for them. But here's the point that I'm trying to make, right? You have a bully in school, and I don't think anybody just gets up today. It could be some people, but nobody just gets up today, go to school and decide that they're going to bully all of their classmates. There must be a reason. All I'm saying is we try to identify the reason. So instead of taking that child out of class and creating another problem, let us try to look at the root causes. What led that child to want to be a bully? Because what we could do, and we might regret it in the future, is we have this bully, we don't know what the root causes were, and we just think of, as you said, nipping it in the bud, and we decide we're going to take them out of class, and so their grades fall. We're going to take them out of playing football and cricket, and so they're no longer interested in those extracurricular activities. And right there, my opinion, we are creating a monster.
But all the Devon doing all of that, you're going to be doing background investigation. You're going to go to the home. You're going to go to the community. You're going to go to the school, maybe the church or the Sunday school, why they stopped going and things. So you're going to do a thorough investigation, and the age where you're going to find out what the root cause of all of them getting into this bullying thing. And when you got all that wrap up, then you will know how to move from there.
Correct. But I'm still advocating for understanding the root causes of why people why people want to be a bully or why people become bullies. We need to know why.
Internal investigation have to start.
I'm done. Yes, it's 11:56. Let's stop there with the calls. There's a comment. Calls. Let's stop there with the calls. There's a comment here on the YouTube stream that says there was plenty bullying back in the day. People just ignored it or it was normalized. And that's the key word right there. It was normalized. It was, man, don't study about that. And if you go home, and in some households, you will be surprised. If you go home and tell your mother and your father that you were being bullied, they're going to bang you. Yeah. And their response to it is wild. All I'm saying is, when we're dealing with children, and this is not me trying to sugarcoat anything, and not just children, but people generally, it's just like crime. What the community groups and organizations and the police and the government is trying to do now is trying to find out the root cause. Why are people committing crime? That is what they're trying to find out. And they're tackling the root cause. What I'm saying is it should be the same for the school, for children, for things like cyberbullying and all of these things. We need to know what the root causes are. And we need to address the root causes before we take a child who is straight A's. They in football, they in cricket, they in all the different sports you could think of, but they are a bully. And before we say, well, we're going to punish that child and we're going to take them out of these extracurricular activities, we're going to cut their grades. I think that approach is, without learning the root causes first, is inhumane, and we're creating a monster. And so when that child gets to 4th or 5th form, you can't stop them. Because 1, they are a bully, because you didn't fix that. 2, they have terrible grades. And 3, they are no longer interested in the things that they once loved. And so you know what they're going to likely turn to? They're either going to commit suicide, then they're either going to kill people or steal. And we don't want that. This is a conversation that we should definitely continue, but we're out of time. You've been listening to The Edge for Monday, October 21st, 2024. I've been your host, Devonne Cornelius. Until next time, you guys stay safe. Continue to enjoy the rest of your Monday. Coming up now is our midday newscast. Stay tuned.